Hey everybody, welcome to episode 60 of Two Guys, Zero Planners. I know I said we were going to have an episode in December, but sicknesses happened, vacations happened, stuff happened, and yeah, this episode's coming out in January, but we recorded it in December.
Yeah, so the actual 6 weeks before Christmas were a bit much. I mean, at least one kid was sick, and sometimes both of them were sick, and it was crazy, and there was no time for anything. And then the weekend before Christmas, we actually went to a small trip to Heidelberg, so we couldn't record then, and then we're finally, there's finally some downtime when we can get to recording.
We would have actually recorded last weekend or the weekend before, but I had some stuff come up and I ended up having to work on Saturday. And when I have to shift my schedule to working on Saturday, it completely throws our schedule out the window. So, yeah. Good times. Also, the day after Thanksgiving, I had to deal with a cellulitis issue. So that resulted in 2 trips to urgent care and some drugs. Yay. Yeah. Insurance has only been notified of the second trip, so I still don't know what the financial cost of the first trip is going to be. And since I hadn't met my deductible for the year, technically both visits are going to be 100% out of pocket. Okay, that's fine. But the hospital still hasn't billed me. They've only notified my insurance of the cost. So a month later, I'm still in limbo going, hey, are you guys going to bill me anytime soon? What's going on here? Am I actually getting charged for services rendered? Are we going to do the thing where money changes hands? What's going on?
Yeah, that's always annoying when you don't know what's happening, right?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I do know is, as much as I really kind of don't want to, I will be rehoming yet another pelican to Todd. I'm on the fence about whether or not I want to take him up on his offer to just temporarily rehome it, like loan it to him and then pay it back and then take the pen back. That just, it feels weird. I mean, I've done it before, but I don't know. It kind of feels a little bit wonky. So we'll see. I mean, first things first, I have to get a bill from the hospital so I can actually pay something. So, yeah.
Yeah.
The other part that sucks is in June, I'm planning on doing a really stupid road trip, which also requires me to fly my mother from Arizona out to Oklahoma to do the road trip with me. Because it's kind of a bucket list thing for both of us. We'd never been to any of the East Coast. So we were literally going to knock out the entire East Coast of the United States and see some nice stuff on the West Coast. And then my leg decided to do leg things. So, yay. It just sucks. Like, I've got this plan. I want to do this thing. And then any expense that can pop up is trying to pop up to prevent me from doing the thing. It's going to cost about $3,500 to do the whole road trip.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm still trying to make sure that can happen, because I'm not getting any younger. My mother's definitely sure as shit not getting any younger. So it's one of those things where I want to make sure that she's able to do it. And unlike my other bucket list item, she hates airplanes, so she's not going to do that one. She can do the short flight from Arizona to Oklahoma, but doing long haul flights across big bodies of water, not quite her thing. So that one's more of a she'll watch my dog or dogs, whatever the case may be at the time, while I do that one. And yeah, that's kind of more of a me thing. Then I also have to figure out train schedules in Central European countries so I can bug certain software developers on their home turf and have real beer. Yeah.
Well, that can be arranged, I think.
Yeah, it's just a matter of figuring out, okay, do I fly into Berlin? Do I actually try to fly into Munich proper? Berlin would probably be cheaper. Then it's a matter of taking a train from Berlin to Munich and then all that good shit.
Yeah, I mean, my employer is actually in Berlin, so maybe there's some things, depending on when you're coming, that can be arranged, that I suddenly have to have a business trip to meet people in Berlin. Could be.
There is that. I don't mind being on a train for 4 hours each direction, because I've flown over the Alps as a kid, but I've never actually been to the Alps. So it's kind of one of those things where I'd want to knock that off the list too. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, that there's actually a very nice connection. And like you said, it's only 4 hours. It stops like twice in between Berlin and Munich.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm the type of person that will drive 14 hours in one day to go from OKC to Arizona. So a 4-hour train ride does not bother me in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, especially because you don't need to do anything, right? You just
exactly
sit there. You don't have to drive or wait on stuff, usually.
Pretty much, yeah. It's very low effort for high payout, so I'm okay with that. None of this is in the show notes, by the way. None of this. This is completely off topic.
That's the way we roll.
We're off
not
to
only
a great
in this
start.
Yeah, not only in this podcast.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, so the leg did the thing, and then the reason we didn't record yesterday is because the day before yesterday, my dogs decided that the trash can was a buffet. Yeah. So I had finished off some deli meat, and the plastic bag that the deli meat comes in, I had stuffed that into the trash can. And I thought I did a good enough job to where it was buried under enough stuff that they wouldn't want to go through the effort to get into it. I was completely wrong. They made the effort. And for the last
annoying.
2 days, I have been dealing with pieces of plastic coming out both ends.
Oh my.
Mm-hmm. For any animal owner that has had a animal that has decided to eat a very persistent piece of string, and you know how that ends up when you go out to the yard, imagine that with a plastic bag for 3 times over the last 2 days. That's been my life. Yeah. I love my dogs. I'm just going to leave it at that. I love my dogs. But yeah, I do have in parentheses, ask Urban the culturally inappropriate question. So what is the overly verbose German word for dog? Because German, for some reason, decides that like the easiest of words have to be 50 syllables long. Is that the same thing with dog?
No, that's
easy word.
Yeah, that's just Hund.
Really?
Yeah.
Of all the things, you don't overcomplicate that?
No, I don't know. Maybe it was an important word, so it had to be short. I don't know.
So the shortness of the word is directly proportional to the importance of the word?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, Hund, and there's also Brot, which is bread, which seems important. So I don't know. Beer is also short.
Well, I mean,
we've covered the important words, I guess.
We've covered the things that matter. Oh dear God.
Well, yeah, there's guinea pig, which is Meerschweinchen, which is a bit longer, I guess.
What? Can you run that? Can you run that train of syllables by me again?
Meerschweinchen.
Okay. There's reasons like, okay, it's weird. I'm able to understand Russian. I'm able to understand French and Spanish because those two are pretty much carbon copies of each other. But Spanish, you actually pronounce all the letters in the word, whereas French, if it's a 15-letter word, you just take the final 7 letters and pretend they don't exist. Yeah, I still don't understand how French does that. But German, for some reason, I can't wrap my head around.
Yeah, it's sort of you mush stuff together sometimes, and it's sort of, you don't actually pronounce all the letters. That's true. At least it's not Danish, so it's not as bad as that. But yes, I can understand how that is difficult sometimes.
Okay, how is Danish bad? And like, I have no frame of reference here, so you definitely have to explain.
And basically, you speak from the back of your mouth, more or less. So I don't speak Danish, so I'm not sure entirely, but it's very, very hard to understand. I think there have been studies that Danish kids take longer to actually pick up when a word ends and when the next one begins compared to other languages, because it's so hard to do.
A little bit of background: my older brother, he's a former choir teacher, so singing from the chest, singing from the throat, singing from the nose, speaking from each of those areas. I understand that, but back of the mouth, that doesn't seem like...
Yeah, there's this joke that the Swedish say Danish is like Swedish with a potato in your mouth.
Okay, then that begs the other question. How big of a potato are we talking? Because here in America, a potato, you can have potatoes like twice the size of a human fist. How are you fitting that big of a potato in your mouth?
I mean, normal potatoes, not the weird stuff you have.
You mean our non-GMO but totally GMO potatoes?
Mm-hmm. Those, yeah.
Man, tangent time. People that say they hate GMO food, not realizing that all of the foods we have today are GMO to begin with. Like, we would not want to go back 150 years and have a potato or have an apple or have a carrot, because they were completely horrendous 150 years ago.
Yeah, wasn't the worst offender the Brussels sprout, which until, I don't know, some decades ago were really, really horrible. And then they've made them palatable, I guess.
Yeah, we genetically modified the living crap out of them until we actually liked them. And now people are like, don't genetically modify our food. Well, you wouldn't like your food if we didn't genetically modify it the first time around. Man. And right there, if people actually did send us emails, that would probably be like 7 pieces of hate mail for me saying that.
I mean, it's probably different. If I mean, the only thing we do is like we take the variety, the sort of what's already in whatever the species is, and we pick what we like instead of what we can do these days, where we, I don't know, do something random from some completely different animal or species and put it in there. So there is a qualitative difference, and it's a bit harder to know what exactly is going to happen. So yeah, it's not entirely the same, but yeah, it's not like
what I would like to see happen is I would like to see somebody take whatever gene sequence that makes bacon taste so damn good and splice it into every other animal. I mean, if we could figure out like the beef bacon hybrid or the chicken bacon hybrid or even the spinach bacon hybrid, I would be amazed with that. We just need to figure out the genetic sequence for bacon flavor and inject it into everything so it's automatically there when it's grown. I don't have a problem. You have a problem. Oh, man. Yeah. So, show notes. Yes,
they exist.
Well, we'll do a few more me topics just to get those out of the way. I'm using yet another microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise. Yeah, this microphone is the Earthworks Ethos. I think, if I recall correctly, I used it for the last little bit of the Inktwell when I was still doing that. Mm-hmm. And about 4 episodes of the podcast. Yeah, that seems about right. 4 episodes. It's not a bad mic. For some reason, I just haven't been using it, and I decided to bring it back out. Something about, I guess I wanted it to, I don't know. This microphone is a hybrid between a dynamic mic and a condenser microphone. Mm-hmm. So it picks up a little bit more of the fullness of a voice and a little bit more of the clarity, which for somebody that goes in and out of proper enunciation like myself is not always a good thing, but it is what it is. So it's a little bit more of a lifelike sound, and it requires a little less work on the back end to make it happen. And I was just like, well, shit, I own this microphone. It's been sitting there not doing anything for 2 years. I might as well just go ahead and pull it out and start using it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which the two things I have it going through, I've also meant to talk about for the longest time, and I don't think I've talked about because they have been in the show doc for the longest period of time under new audio gear because, of course, well, it's not new anymore. I've been using these pieces of audio gear for, what now? 8-9 months? Somewhere in there? Mm-hmm. Well, no, one of them I've been working with for a lot longer. The WA-73. So again, for the audio nerds out there, this is for you. For the non-audio nerds, I apologize profusely. Back in the day when music was meant to go on these big discs called vinyl, they made a console called a Neve 1073. Rupert Neve is an amazing audio person. Made some of the best consoles, best EQs, and best compressors on the face of the earth. Still does. I believe he's still alive. So what the WA-73 is, it's a modern take of the Neve 1073 preamp and EQ. So it's got that nice analog warmth, which can also be called analog distortion because, well, that's what we talk about when we say it sounds warmer. And it's got that nice vintage feel to it, which Urban is actually currently hearing on my voice because I actually have it on my microphone before I do any editing on the back end. And I have software that kind of mimics this piece of hardware that I throw Urban's voice through on every episode of the podcast. Because
I have this crappy microphone.
Well, yeah, and I'm also not going to tell you to spend $700 on a preamp.
Yeah.
But
it looks cool. Do you have I mean, it's like this one rack unit thing. Do you have a proper case for all the stuff so that it looks nice? It's mounted and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got proper, like, everything. My computer setup and audio setup is complete overkill because I worked in recording before I started doing any of this stuff. And after the WA-73, I have it going into a WA bus comp. The bus comp is a compressor. Mm-hmm. Now, what makes this bus comp so special is it's a modern clone of the SSL 4000G circuit. Now, what is the SSL 4000G? If you listened to any music in the 80s and 90s that was mixed or mastered in Southern California, you listened to music that ran through an SSL 4000G bus compressor at some point in the audio stage. Mm-hmm. People love this compressor for how, even if you're not really hitting the signal and reducing it that much, just running audio through this circuitry glues it together in such a way that you can't get with digital. Again, Urban is able to hear my voice with this stuff on because I've got it going directly into it. Again, I've got software that I also run Urban's microphone through. The software does an okay job, but the analog hardware, call me old-fashioned, call me whatever you want. I love analog more than I do digital.
Surprise.
Yeah, I know, right?
Podcast of people talking about fountain pens sometimes.
Yeah, who would have thought that my love for analog recording gear would also cause me to love actual analog writing implements. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? It's to the point where I know I have an unhealthy addiction to analog gear because I want more. Mm-hmm. Both audio gear, which we can talk about down the line, and photography gear, which we can go ahead and talk about now.
Yeah, sort of that was the analog thing for me before fountain pens even, right? I was really deep into film and film cameras. That was like maybe 10 8-10 years ago, back in the time where it was actually cheap and not like now where it's becoming expensive, also because many of the cameras are getting so old that there's just fewer of them, and also the film is getting really expensive.
And that's actually kind of the big problem with film is the expense of it. Like, even if you find a decently cheap camera, a roll of film is going to cost you anywhere between $10 and $20 for, well, if we're talking 35 millimeter, like between $10 and $20 for a decent roll of 36 frames. And then the development cost, if you're not developing it yourself and you're actually going to a trusted source, that's anywhere between $13 and $26, $30 per roll to have it developed. So it's an expensive endeavor.
It is, yeah. I mean, I have a roll here sitting since I don't know how long that I still need to send off, have developed and scanned. Let me look at it. Yeah, about 20 euros to get it developed and scanned. That's black and white for me in a good lab. Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, that's sort of part of the charm is also that you know it's going to be expensive. So you try to be careful with each frame, right? And you don't just shoot off any random crap. Well, sometimes you do, but yeah.
Exactly. It's not like when I go out to the dog park and I take 700 pictures in an hour and a half because I've got it on high-speed burst rate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually have to sit there and go, okay, think about the framing, make sure everything is set. Okay, let's do the picture. So what really got me thinking about this, though, is I've decided personally that I'm no longer really a fan of color photography for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like the pull of black and white photography. I think I'm going through my midlife crisis, and my midlife crisis is slowly becoming a hipster.
Yeah. I mean, the fun of black and white is that it's also very forgiving in terms of exposure. So it's a bit, it's different to digital, where in digital you would prefer to underexpose because you can clip the highlights, and that's usually not possible or almost impossible in film. So you usually overexpose. Sort of you err on giving it a bit more light, and
right
with some rules of thumb, you don't even need automatic exposure, right? You just say, hey, now it's sunny, I take this shutter speed, and it's usually fine, which is also fun, where you can then go back to the really, really old cameras that are just more or less completely manual, and it just works. Color is usually a bit more tricky in that sense, but black and white, usually you have a big margin of error there.
For me, it feels like it's easier to tell a story in black and white than it is with color.
Mm-hmm.
When you're bringing the viewer's attention strictly to the scene itself, because with black and white, you're telling a story through contrast. You're not having to sit there and go, oh, look at this pink dress standing out in front of this burnt landscape of a forest fire or something. You're sitting there telling the picture through contrast, through the shades of gray. But just, it feels like I'm able to tell more compelling stories with my photography through black and white than I am through color. And maybe that's just, I'm the first to admit, maybe it's because I suck at color photography. That could very well be true. But it just feels like I'm able to get more emotion and detail into my black and white photos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, clicking on the link that you just put in the show doc.
Yeah, that's a UK photographer that I know from back in the time of when I actually did a lot more film photography. He's actually has a medium format camera, and he's very big into this Americana, and I think that's the way to go with color, I guess. And been shooting.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. That feels like that type of color profile feels very well done. It's not, I guess the biggest thing I have against a lot of color photography that I see is it's overly saturated and a little too neat.
Yeah. I mean, didn't you know that when it's HDR, it's a good photo?
So that's how that works. If it's HDR, it's automatically good.
Yeah.
Like, okay, here's one for you. Let me pull up Discord. I don't think I've actually posted this one to Instagram, so I may actually do that at some point. But okay, there we go. So that's one I took on a Fuji X-T3. But that, to me, that's where I'm okay with color photography, because it's got that. How familiar are you with Fujifilm Eterna, like the color profile on Eterna film?
Oh, it's been a while.
Right, but kind of like the almost undersaturated colors.
Yeah, that's sort of the usual Fuji.
Yeah, I guess it kind of is.
Yeah.
That's the kind of color profile I like, is kind of that undersaturated feel. So for me, that picture, I like that picture, even though it's not one of my better ones that I've taken. Whereas this picture, I like it because I hate looking at this picture on the computer. I like looking at it at my desk at work, because on paper, it actually looks good. I mean, also, this particular picture is supposed to be printed out 1 foot by 4 foot. So it's supposed to be printed out pretty big.
Yeah, those are also fun, the super wide ones.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and when you start with black and white, then sort of the next step is actually pinhole photography.
Ooh, pinhole
where
photography.
There's some really crazy cameras out there. And then you sort of, I mean, you either go medium format or even large format, and then you have this really, it actually is a super tiny hole. And then you make your exposure and you wait for, I don't know, depending on the light, 10 minutes to half an hour or even longer. And it's actually a very fun experience to say, okay, now I'm starting. And then you stand there for a while and don't think about stuff. And then,
right.
Okay, this one picture is done. Maybe it turned out nice. Who knows?
See, I think the high risk, high reward of that type of photography is actually something that would draw me in.
Yeah.
Okay, here's some more black and white for you. So these are ones that I've done with my this was the Fuji X-T3 set in monochrome. Let's see. Then we have that one, and that one.
Nice.
And I mean, since I did those on the Fuji X-T3, I've got the raw files. I can tell you where the background is just completely blurred out. One, that is a $25 manual focus only lens on that camera.
Yeah.
So $1,500 camera, $25 lens. Holy crap, that background is just butter.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can tell you, having taken the picture, the light was just horrendous that day. So that sky in the back, the most ugly shade of blue you would ever see, like just atrocious. But in black and white, it still looks pleasing. It looks beautiful. Whereas if I tried to do it in color, that background, the sky would just be so dull, and the blue color. But in black and white, I'm able to sit there and focus in on it in a way that I just don't think I could. And I've got some good photos that, before I started thinking about them in terms of what they could look like in black and white, I may have thrown them out prematurely because I was strictly thinking about them in a color space and not how I could transform them this other way.
Yeah, it's completely different from what you need to focus on. Yeah.
And kind of like you said, even in digital photography, black and white is just so much more forgiving when you have to crank the ISO, because it starts looking more like natural film grain in the digital sense.
Yeah, if I look at the third image, the one with the dog, it looks like someone has developed the film for a bit too long. That's sort of the look of it.
Yeah, it looks, well, honestly, it looks like I made the mistake of taking like ISO 800 or 2400 film outside on a slightly bright day, and the camera just could not deal with it. Or I set the exposure wrong, or I set the ISO wrong on the camera itself, and so the auto exposure was off.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, you can tell by the amount of snow and the clouds in the background that sky is going to be like that ugly overcast gray that has no definition whatsoever. But the clouds actually look decent in black and white. So it's just like, I'm going to have to look through my Instagram and see if I actually posted these pictures. And if not, I'm going to have to actually post them so we have a show note link.
Yeah. Otherwise, it would have been a very boring time. Yeah. Yeah. Now I posted another link. Now I'm looking at pinhole cameras again. Yeah, there's this nice sort of small. It's one person shop from France. He's been making all kinds of pinhole cameras, and there's like this super wide panoramic one that I've been eyeing for many years.
Wow.
And it's like medium format, and you get like 4 shots on one roll.
That is crazy.
Yeah. And I will probably never use it, or maybe I would use it, but not much more than once or twice. That's how it goes for me. But yeah.
Wow. And I mean, that's kind of what I'm running into as well. So the camera that I linked, and I'm going to have to explain why that particular camera is the one I'm looking at, but the Pentax 17, what makes it so interesting to me is the fact that it does do the half frame photography.
Yeah.
So one, you're extending the amount of pictures you can take, but it also ups the difficulty level because it forces you to get that exposure just right. So you can maximize for the fact that you're already going to be taking down some of the fidelity for doing
you have to love
half
frame. Yeah. You really have to. I mean, either you love frame or you actually play with it. And there are some people that actually compose with multiple frames, where you take multiple shots and you try to actually line them up more or less, and then you scan them, and then you have a bigger one, also panoramic, which is composed of multiple frames. That also looks pretty cool. But then you get into the whole deal of having to have a scanner that can shine light. Well, I mean, you have all the cameras, so you would probably just use those and some kind of light table. That's actually these days, I think that's the preferred setup anyway. So yeah, thinking of all the cameras you have, you shouldn't have much of a problem of doing the scanning yourself, because you just take pictures with your camera, and it's probably better quality than what you get from most shops. Or maybe you just get the cheap ones, and then the few images that are actually good, you do then again yourself. And if it's black and white, it's actually not super hard.
Right.
White balance on color, I've always found to be super annoying. But
honestly, and for the photographers that do listen to the podcast, I set my cameras to 5500 and leave it. Am I taking pictures at night? 5500. Middle of the day? 5500. Inside? 5500. Incandescent bulbs? 5500. I don't care. I just set everything to 5500. That way I know no matter what, if I'm having to batch process something. So let's say I'm doing a company get together and we're under horrible incandescent bulbs at work, I can just go ahead and figure out the proper white balance. So I always keep a gray card with me. So anytime I'm getting ready to shoot, I'll snap the gray card in the environment where I'm at. So I'll go ahead, set the white balance off of that one picture, and then I'll batch process the white balance to everything else.
Yeah, seems like a better idea. It can go horribly wrong otherwise if you alter white balance stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's not talk about snow.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like on that picture of Bailey outside in those snow drifts. I made the mistake of having auto white balance on that day. It was horrible. She came out looking blue.
Yeah.
And she's a yellow dog. So how the camera decided that she was blue is interesting, but that's what it decided. I also wonder how much the fact that it was that the day that picture was taken when it was negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit outside.
Okay.
Yeah. I was
That's
outside
cold.
in shorts and a hoodie in negative 20 degree weather so my dogs could play.
So you are always the person that wears shorts when everyone else is.
Yes,
Actually,
I am always that
normal
person.
stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I am that crazy person that always wears the shorts to do stuffs.
Yeah, there's always one. That's sort of a universal rule. That's true.
Well, I mean, it's fine until it ends up with me having a leg issue that requires me to go to the hospital. Because essentially what ends up happening is I have my leg issue because it gets super cold, the skin gets super dry, and it cracks. Well, once it does that, anything can happen if you forget to wash that one spot on the leg. And yeah, it's a whole thing. Can you tell I'm still a little salty there? Yeah. Now, like I said, now I'm gonna have to double check Instagram and see if I've actually posted the pictures I sent you on Discord. That way the viewers can actually see something. But before we do some FPC talk to round out the episode, you mentioned stitching pictures together. So that picture of the bridge that I sent you, that's 11 pictures. It was definitely overkill. So I wanted to see what would happen if I created more work for myself.
Yeah, although if you've been, I mean, probably that image you could have then done in software too, right? If you already made it easy enough for you to do, then I guess the software could have done it as well.
I could have done it in software, but if you look at it in the original size and then you zoom in to the very top of the bridge where it's got the warning beacon for aircraft, every time I tried doing it in software, it would cut out that warning beacon.
Okay.
So the bridge was suddenly like 7 feet shorter than it really was.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why Adobe kept trying to do that, but it did. So there you go. So yeah, that is we will move over to the urban stuff. Yeah. So yeah. How about you? What have you been doing?
Yeah. There was one more reason why we didn't record sort of the weekend before Christmas.
Oh yeah.
We had actually planned a trip to Heidelberg. So I lived in Heidelberg for about 5 years. It was sort of, I moved there because my then girlfriend had started her PhD, and we moved in together, and then we got married there, and then we had our first kid in Heidelberg. And it's just sort of always nice to go back every few years. And it has very nice Christmas markets as well. So we decided to go before Christmas, because it's like sort of on the 24th or on 25th, everything closes down usually in Germany. All the Christmas markets are over. And also my parents sort of, they are now at the age where they think of, okay, we do have some money saved up over the last years or decades. We don't want our kids to pay inheritance tax on everything. So let's give them some money every year. They gave us a decent chunk so we could actually have a few nice days in Heidelberg and go there by train, first class, which was nice, and then we didn't really have to think too much about what we did there. So that was actually a few nice days. Obviously, I did my research, or I also what stationery stores there are today. And there always was this one stationery store that I remember from back in the day. That was nice. We went in there. Surprisingly, they even had Iroshizuku inks. Although before Christmas, sort of the selection was very minimal because I think most of the things had sold out already. And they knew about stuff, right? Sort of they had marked the 3 inks that I don't remember the names that are sort of being discontinued as, hey, these are marked down because they've been discontinued. So they actually know their stuff. So that was cool. I didn't end up buying any ink there. Somehow I thought if I pay 30 euros for an Iroshizuku ink, then I wanted to be something I really like, and somehow it didn't feel like it. But there was another very nice, very small store with basically every Kaweco pen in existence. So
how on earth did you make it out of there alive?
I mean, I made it out with 150 euros less. So I ummed and awed about what should I do, and then I ended up getting the AL Sport in Iguana blue, and then my son said, "Oh, look at this pen! I'll take really good care of it." I mean, he has a habit of destroying his fountain pens, and he ended up with the all black Kaweco Perkio. And then my wife and my daughter saw that they had very nice journals, sort of sketch notebooks that actually life-read really nice and had really fun covers. Those were, 27 euros each as well. And so we ended up with, everyone got something. And I only ended up with, only half of the money spent was for me, I guess.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it's actually, we discussed afterwards, we had a discussion in Discord, because it's actually Heidelberg. I think I looked it up, the 51st biggest city in Germany. It has like 130,000 inhabitants. It has these 2 stores, the Lamy flagship store, and Munich, as a third largest city in Germany, has like basically nothing. The big stationery store closed, 2 years ago or something. And it's really weird how the small town has all that stuff, but Heidelberg hasn't, right?
Yeah, I have a strange feeling that I will have to budget a lot of extra money for real pen stores.
Well, I haven't been, but Berlin also has supposedly has a very nice stationery store too.
You know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to buy a Mont Blanc while I'm in Germany.
Yeah, I don't know. I find them... I mean, this in Heidelberg, I looked at what they had, and they had those Faber-Castell and Mont Blanc, and they looked like pens that, 60-year-old businessmen in suits would buy. And there was one, at least, looking and getting help from one of the employees there. So, yeah, I don't know. But they also had pilot stuff, which you usually don't see. But that was the big surprise for me, actually, right? I could have bought an 823 or a Vanishing Point and stuff like that, which I was surprised at, yeah.
So, question. If you had gone by car instead of train, how long of a drive is Munich to Heidelberg?
Oh, Munich to Heidelberg, so I'd have to look that up. Let me check. What does Google say? Google says 3 hours. Yeah, reasonable. And by train, It took us maybe 4 or so.
So I posted 2 pictures, and according to... I have to repost the first one, because it did the zoom incorrectly. So 1 second. There we go. Okay. So there we go. That's at the same scale. So looking at those two maps, Munich to Heidelberg distance-wise is about the same distance as Tulsa to, I'd say Tulsa to Chickasha, which is a small town just southwest of Oklahoma City. That would be a 2-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, look at how boring Oklahoma is compared to Germany. Like, seriously, you've got so many good points of interest in the same screenshot of Germany, and then you look at Oklahoma and it's like, wow, this place is really boring.
Yeah, I mean, and Germany is very, very densely populated, right? It's like 82 million in that area, right? There's basically no wilderness, more or less, in Germany. Irrespective of where you go, there's some town or village or something.
Whereas pretty much Oklahoma's just empty farmland, with the exception of Oklahoma City and Tulsa. And it's funny. So Munich and Oklahoma City are about the same population-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But look at how much more sprawled out Oklahoma City is. So,
and Munich is actually not a very dense city either.
Right.
Compared to other cities, it's actually very spread out.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at it, like, so Oklahoma City, the metro is all the way from Edmond in the north down to Norman in the south, and from just west of Yukon on the west-hand side to just west of Shawnee on the east-hand side. It is a huge metro.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. You know how many good pen shops we have here?
None.
Pretty much, yeah. We don't, like, literally, you've got more pen shops in your screenshot than we do in Oklahoma in the same screenshot.
Mm-hmm.
And it annoys me to no end. Like, to go to a decent pen shop, I have to travel 8 hours to the east to go to Van Ness.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, you have no idea how much that annoys me.
Yeah, on the other hand, maybe that's also better.
Although,
probably. these days you can just order anything anyway, so I don't know.
I just, there's been a lot of times where I wish I could have tried something first before I actually bought it, and not having a local pen shop is so annoying because of that. Yeah, it is a little bit annoying sometimes.
On the other hand, if you buy online, you don't have to talk to people. It's also nice.
This is true. This is very true. Try something out before I buy it. Avoiding human contact. Trying something, avoiding contact. Ooh, that is a tough choice. That is a very tough choice. I'll have to debate that choice. I will definitely have to think about that. So, big question, because we're coming up on an hour here. Do we want to push the FPC stuff back, or what do you think?
Yeah, okay. We can.
Yeah, I figure we've been recording for an hour, so realistically, you guys have just heard a 46, 47-minute podcast somewhere in there.
Yeah. And then teaser for next time is also my counterfeit advent calendar.
Ooh, okay. And
my counterfeit stationary advent calendar even. So to keep it somewhat on topic.
Yeah. Oh, did we talk about the fact that we're recording this on my birthday?
No.
Oh, yeah. We're recording this on my birthday. Yay. I turned 39 today. Woo.
Yay. Happy birthday.
Yay. Happy midlife crisis day. Now to do about 35 to 45 minutes of biking and making food, and you're winding down for the night.
Yes, we still have to have dinner. We went ice skating on the lake with my son, although it was a bit sketchy, and it would have been nice to have another cold night. You could hear the ice cracking, but there were quite a few people on it, so we thought maybe it's fine. And I guess no one drowned, so that was a good thing.
I wish I knew what it was like to ice skate on an open lake.
Yeah, once. I mean, the last years it was actually nice. Once a year we could actually go onto the lakes. Oh, and yesterday we were in in the Alps, closer to the Alps. There was really a lot of snow, and we could have gone ice skating, but we didn't pack our gear. Maybe next time.
Yesterday it was overcast, 61 degrees, and humid as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I envy you. I really do. But you enjoy dinner. I am going to get to my workout, and then probably I have no idea what I'm doing the rest of today.
All right.
All right, everyone. We will see you on the next episode.
All right. Bye-bye.